I can hear some of my families at home saying, I don't have anything at home to do or help my child get interested in STEM. And I don't even know what to do. So let's stay on that question piece, but let's talk about material. Let's bring some of that materials and bring that into the home too. Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Your house is filled with things that support your child's STEM knowledge, and right outside your house too. And that's the thing that we try to encourage with parents to think about, and also teachers that we work with, that you don't have to have all the answers, and it's actually better if you don't, because then you can truly explore with your child. Some things that you can do is like you can make ice cubes and put a few drops of food coloring in the ice cube and see what happens when it melts, or take ice cubes and paint on them with tempera paint. And again, just see what happens, and just observing things and watching things. That's like one of the greatest ways, again, to develop that curiosity and the desire to try again or try it differently.
So excited about this subject. My daughter is all about STEM, and it started when she was little. So I noticed her interest in math, and she always wanted to build things. And then as she, progressed in her education, I saw her really taking an interest to like computer science. And so although she's had some experience. She did ComEd ambassador, where she made, like a solar car. She did, she made like a solar panel in another space, and she's connected with all of these STEM programs, and she's in high school now. So she's really starting to narrow in on computer science. She loves web design, things of that nature. And when I think back over her journey, I'm like, how did she get here? Because I am not a STEM person, and I'm not a math whiz. And so parents, I do want to tell you, you do not have to be a math whiz to raise one, but she enjoys it. And so I'm so excited to have Amy Spar here from the Children's Museum, and she's going to talk to us about how to bring STEM to life everywhere. Because every day we're all using math. And so, Amy, you're going to talk to us about how do we, birth that.
Yes, I'm so excited to join you at Chicago Children's Museum. We are all about play, because for young children, play is learning.
Yes,
that is how they learn. That's how they explore the world. And that's the foundation of math and science and all STEM learning, is playing and exploring and being curious. And there's just an endless number of things that you can do with your child to encourage that STEM curiosity and really shape their future as curious learners.
So talk a little bit about, I know you're at the Children's Museum, and let me tell you, when my daughter was little, I almost had to go every weekend.
We love that. We love to hear that.
So talk about the museum and the design and how it's set up for our littles, because everyone knows that I'm a former pre-K teacher, so my heart bleeds pre-K. And so I want to hear about how the museum is set up for our youngest learners.
Yes. Well, so one thing that I know throws people off is the word museum, because you think about a museum as a place where you can't touch.
Yes.
And what I like to say is that first, sometimes a museum feels like the wrong word for what we are. At an art museum, the staff are experts in art. At a science museum, the staff are experts in science. And at a children's museum, the staff are experts in children.
I love it.
So we know so much about how children learn, the ways that they want to engage with things. And we think very intentionally at the museum about all the things that a child can learn, not facts, but skills and things that they can practice. And so what that looks like is, of course, lots of things that you can touch, lots of things that you can do and shape. I think about when I was a child and I went to like maybe a science museum and I could push a button, and the same thing would happen over and over again. And like, how many times can you push that button, But the way that we think about things at the museum is that environments that a child can shape and create, and that it can look and they can do something different every time they come. The other thing about a children's museum is that, if you brought your daughter when she was 2 and 4 and 6, she was like a different child every time she came. So we really think about how children of different ages can experience all of the things that are going on at kind of different levels, and that the experience can keep changing. There's not just one button to push, but endless variables, lots of what we call loose parts. And so the more you can build with blocks, or in the water area, like scoop and use boats and use nets and use shovels, all different ways to experiment. Again, that's really the foundation of just exploration and curiosity and understanding how the world works.
Let me tell you, that waterworks, I lived in waterworks. I didn't think I was going to ever get out of waterworks.
Yeah.
I was so glad when I was like, do you want to go to McDonald's? And that was the only way I could get her out of there. And you're right. Every time we went, she found a new area to explore, and she connected with the museum in a different way. So I love the way you guys are thinking about it and the way you design it, because it grows with each child, no matter what stage and age they are, they can find a place to be curious.
Mm-hmm. And also do something different in the same place. Mm-hmm. So I think about our building exhibit where, what we have for really little ones is, so first of all, another important thing about the museum is that we use lots of authentic tools and materials. We don't have play hardware in our building exhibit. We have real hardware. And of course, we're safe about things like that. But, what really little ones can do is put screws into holes, and just matching up like the shape of that screw and getting it into the hole. That's a great skill for a 2-year-old. But then as they get bigger, they can, we have lots of different building materials. And so they start to figure out how they can put them together. And maybe they build something that's not that sturdy, but they're figuring it out. And then as they get a little older, they start to see, oh, that didn't work when I did that. Let me try it a different way. And of course, that is the foundation of scientific thinking, that they're going to do as they get older in more formal ways. But what that looks like when you're 4 or 5 years old is, that didn't work. Let me try something different. And then another thing that we have throughout the museum is lots of messaging for parents and for caregivers. So in that same building exhibit, we have signs that say triangles make strong structures. And so that's a little bit of engineering. And then the caregivers understand, they see the triangle pieces, and then they can have that kind of just-in-time information to tell their child, let's try it. Let's try it with a triangle. What happens if we put a triangle at the corner of this building? Maybe that'll make it stand up straighter. And then, or they say, let's put the triangle. What do you think will happen? Because that's really something I wanted to talk about today, is asking questions.
Ooh,
that's the best way that you can encourage your child to be a STEM expert, is just training them to ask questions.
Now, that's so good. Let's stay there for a minute, because I know I can hear some of my families at home saying, I don't have anything at home to do or help my child get interested in STEM, and I don't even know what to do. So let's stay on that question piece, but let's talk about material. Let's bring some of that materials and bring that into the home too. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Your house is filled with things that support your child's STEM knowledge, and right outside your house too. And that's the thing that we try to encourage with parents to think about, and also teachers that we work with, that you don't have to have all the answers, and it's actually better if you don't, because then you can truly explore with your child. Some things that you can do is, like, you can make ice cubes and put a few drops of food coloring in the ice cube and see what happens when it melts, or take ice cubes and paint on them with tempera paint. And again, just see what happens, and just observing things and watching things. That's like one of the greatest ways, again, to develop that curiosity and the desire to try again or try it differently, switch out the variables. You can go outside and look at the ground and just like get down close to the ground, like look at rocks, look at bugs, look at sticks. I know sometimes for grownups, there's like an ick factor, but we have to try to really like suppress that, because we don't know what our children are going to be interested in. Yeah. And you never want to suppress your child's interest. I mean, I remember my daughter, when she was at recess, she loved to dig up the roly-polies at the side of the playground. And like, how great, that as an 8-year-old girl or whatever, she wasn't like, ooh, that's gross. Like she was just exploring and what happens. And so you can do that same thing. Go out, like look at different sticks, look at different shapes of leaves. Why are some leaves green? Why are some leaves red? And the most important thing is ask your child what they think. Don't try to tell them all the answers because that's not fun. And it's also not memorable. The way information sticks when we learn it is when we can figure it out ourselves. Not when someone just tells us the answer, but when we can explore and get to the answer ourselves.
So I want to move into the question piece. So that was a good foundation for families to, one, say, hey, there's nothing that you need to go out and buy.
Yeah.
Right? You can walk right outside your door. You can use things that are inside your house. I think what families need to know, what is the key piece to that, is questions. Mm-hmm. How do you question your child to spark that curiosity and to start some of that thinking? So you were getting ready to move into those questioning piece. So let's go there.
Yeah, I think it's all about the questions. There's certainly, don't feel like there's just one right question. I think it's just asking questions. What do you think will happen if? Or I wonder what will happen if? Or, just like, why do you think that happened? Or what if we did it differently? Like also thinking about the ice cube. What if you take an ice cube and sprinkle a little salt on it? And what happens if you take an ice cube and sprinkle a little sugar on it? So like, what if we tried it a little differently? That's also, I think, a really important part of it. That again, we know that science, as you get older, those are the foundations of things that scientists down the road, like your daughter in high school or, older than that, are changing variables. And you can do that too. And just like, what do you think will happen is such a great question, because predicting is also a really important part of it. And asking, why do you think it happened? One example that we like to think about in our curiosity classrooms in Chicago public schools is that we have a ball ramp, and we have lots of different kinds of balls that can go down that ramp. And some are wood, and some are metal, and some are felt, and they're all different materials and and different colors, and again, all those variables. And what if children roll the ball down the ramp and there's a red ball and a blue ball, and the blue ball goes faster? Do we think it's faster because it's blue? Who knows? Who knows what a 4-year-old might say? But then as they keep trying it and keep experimenting with the same materials, they might find as they get older, oh, it actually goes faster because it's heavier. But we don't have to correct them when they're 4 and say, no, the blue ball didn't go down faster because it's blue. It went faster because it's heavier. We don't have to say that. We can just let them, have, again, their own ideas. And that's why it's so easy for parents when you think about it, because you don't have to have the answers. You don't even have to know that it went faster because it's heavier. You can just say, yeah, maybe. Mm-hmm. And then try it again a few weeks later and see, do they think about it differently? Do they want to try something differently? It's actually so easy for parents because we don't have to know the answers, and we don't have to make it harder than it is. I always turn it back to my kids. What do you think? I don't know. What do you think?
Yes.
What do you think?
So, Amy, we've shared a lot, and I just, again, want to thank you. But I do have a question that I'm wondering. So what is it that parents may miss that could be a big STEM opportunity or moment?
So I think actually letting our children fail, not at like big monumental things, but at little things when they're little, that's actually, again, when they learn. And sometimes as parents, we want to solve their problem. We want to take away their pain. We don't want to hear them cry or get upset or get frustrated, but actually letting your child figure out what went wrong in a situation and figuring it out for themselves. Especially, I don't mean like, talking to a friend, but like say they're building with blocks and they can't get it as tall as they want it to be and it keeps falling over or something like that. Sometimes, right, we want to just, okay, no, here's how you can do it. But that's, again, ask the question. Say, what do you think is making it fall down? Why do you think it's not getting as tall as you want it to be? What if we try this? What if we try this? And I think that desire to step in and figure things out for our children. And I do that all the time as a parent. We're rushed, we're busy, there's so many things going on, but like just giving the time for your child to solve problems themselves, that is a great way to again, exercise those skills of curiosity, creativity, Collaborate with your child. Don't just do it for them, but work on it together and let them use their creative thinking and their critical thinking and solve problems on their own. I think that's what we can do as parents.
So, Amy, we've been talking a lot about curiosity. We've been talking about wonder. So I guess I wonder, what does that look like in real life at the museum? How does that show up?
Yeah, I would say we see it a lot with really deep engagement, that like children are so focused on something. And another amazing thing is sometimes they're so focused on another child, watching another child, again, like in the building area, like, oh, how's he doing that? How's she putting that together? Because they're learning, again, like that other child isn't saying, here's how you do it, but they're just watching and they're learning so much from seeing what someone else does. And then they try it themselves. And so that is how like wonder can sometimes look really quiet and like concentration. And then sometimes just when you come into the museum and you're like, wow, look at how many stairs there are. Oh my gosh, I never had like a tiny toilet that was just my size. Like all the things that we talked about, that are like just so intentional in the museum for young children. Those things really wow children. And then there's really quiet moments of just like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Or, just like I've never done something like this before. That's the great thing about coming to the museum again and again, and what we spoke about, that like you're different when you're 4 and when you're 6. Like, okay, I couldn't climb the big climber when I was 4, but I'm 6 now and I just did it.
Yes.
And that's also that wonder and accomplishment is so exciting.
Well, we talked about the museum and we talked about how not everyone has access. So I want to talk about how we partner together, which is what I'm really excited about, how we partner together to bring the opportunity to 25 Chicago public school buildings.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that right now, about that partnership and what we were able to do over the past couple years.
We love this partnership. We have a partnership with Chicago Public Schools and the Office of Early Childhood Education called Curiosity Classrooms. And these are open-ended, child-directed STEAM learning spaces that we have in 25 schools. They're geared for pre-K to second grade students, and they're really just about developmentally appropriate exploration of all of these different kinds of STEM concepts that we've been talking today. So we have blocks, we have lots of natural materials, we have a sensory table. So some things that are, pretty familiar in an early childhood classroom. There's a light table. There's a wind tunnel. I can't tell you how surprised I was that the wind tunnel is like the number one exciting thing.
I was waiting on you to say it. I love it in every room.
Everybody loves that wind tunnel. And so the great thing about that, when we were talking about variables and loose parts, is that there are lots of pieces of fabric that we put next to the wind tunnel. And there's some silk, and there's some cotton, and there's some felt and other things. And all of those fabrics are different weights. And so you can just send them up the wind tunnel, and it's so exciting to see when that silk scarf blows out the other end. But then the felt, it doesn't go up. We know it's heavier, but letting the kids think about, why doesn't it go up and how could I change that? Maybe I turn the fan higher or lower, or I change the angle of the wind tunnel. And just, again, all those different ways to explore are the basics of STEAM education. But also, they're really complementary to what the students are learning in their classes with their teachers as part of their math and science curriculum. So it's not different. It's part of learning, and it's just another way to learn. And because it is so child-directed and so open-ended, it's so joyful. The kids are so happy to be in there. And what we found is that the teachers love being in there too. So we do a lot of professional learning, as you talked about, and really just helping teachers. Teachers come with all different levels of experience and comfort with STEAM. So a big part of the partnership is building STEAM identities for both children and teachers. And so we want everybody to feel like, I belong in STEAM. I don't have to be a math person. I didn't have to major in math in college or major in science. I can do math and science, especially at an early childhood level, and I can imbue that excitement in my children and help my students become excited, curious, creative, collaborative, critical thinkers, all of those 21st century skills. And so, with the teachers, we help them understand what's in the classroom. A lot of the things that we've spoken about just like, you don't have to know the answers. It's better actually if you don't. Explore together. And we also want to help them build their comfort with that really open-ended, playful learning. It's very different than what, a lot of teachers may be used to. And research actually shows it can be more joyful for students and for teachers. And so, when we think about teacher burnout, which is such an important issue and a big challenge right now, if sometimes it feels like, maybe it's a little chaotic and my kids are going to different areas of the room and they're playing with different things. But I think with the support of the museum of how they can use that room effectively, we actually find that teachers really enjoy it. Yeah. And again, that idea of joyful teaching is a big part of what drives us in this partnership, is helping teachers find the joy again in teaching. I think, we are just so excited to bring what the museum is all about into schools. I mean, I think some teachers have told us that it feels like we have a children's museum right in our school. And while we wish that every school in CPS could have this, we're not quite there yet. But what I would say is that find out if there's a curiosity classroom at a school in your neighborhood, because they are resources for the community. And so if your child can go to a school with a curiosity classroom, as you're, a parent of young children thinking about where to send them for preschool and kindergarten, see if there's one in your neighborhood, because it's just such a great complement to their learning.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Amy. We're going to do red light, green light, my favorite game, but we're going to do it with a twist. We're not going to bust any myths in this edition. We're going to decipher between good curiosity questions or general questions, all right? So green is it promotes STEM, red is shuts it down, and yellow somewhere in the middle. Okay? Mm-hmm. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to give you the first question.
Okay,
here's the question. Mm-hmm. What do you think will happen if we add more water to the cup?
That's a green.
That is a green. Talk to me a little bit about why it's green.
Yeah, it's a great question. You're putting an idea out there, you're suggesting something you could try, but you're not telling your child anything about what you think the outcome might be. We don't know how much water's already in the cup, so maybe it's going to spill over the side. Maybe there's ice cubes in it. They're going to rise up if we add water. So you're just asking your question, and before you do it, let them give you an answer and say, here's what I think will happen. And say, okay, let's try it.
And so parents, I hope you saw that was a general question. You didn't have to go buy anything. It wasn't deep and profound. It was a general question. So when we say ask questions, it's just questions like that, open-ended, right? That allows your child to process and think about what the right response will be. And there's no right or wrong response.
Exactly.
I think that's the key.
Yes. There's no right answer.
Yep. Here's the second question. Did you wash your hands before a snack?
I'm going to say yellow.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, it is a yes, no question, but I think there's room to add a little why do you think we need to wash our hands before a snack? Maybe just we were playing in the mud and they're dirty. Maybe we, who knows why? Maybe our sister has a cold and we want to make sure we're getting rid of the germs, but ask the question, and then again, ask the why question.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. Question number 3. Is this the right answer?
Well, I'm going to give it a yellow.
Okay.
Because I don't know what the question was. Sometimes there's not always a right answer. So maybe we don't want to encourage that there's a right answer. I mean, if the question is 2 + 2 is 4, there's one answer to that. But if we're doing something that's sort of more exploring, maybe there's not just one right answer.
Yeah. And I was thinking red because I was to what? I didn't know what we were trying to answer to. So yes, I like what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. This is our last question.
Okay.
What can we do to make the ball roll faster?
Oh, that's a green.
I love that. That's good.
Yes. I mean, right? Then you're just asking your child to think about whatever they can think about. And whether you're on the sidewalk, whether you're at the top of the stairs, there's so many different ways that you could think about how that ball's going to roll. That's a great question.
And if there's anything that you could put on an incline, right, to make it go faster.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
that was a good question.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Amy, thank you so much. But let me tell you, before we go, We got to give homework. I wouldn't be a good teacher
Yeah.
without giving homework. So first, I do want to thank you for just being here with us today. And I do want to give you an opportunity to say anything else to our families before we give out our homework and our action items in our take-home pack.
I think what I would just say to all parents is that you are your child's best teacher. You might feel like, I'm not trained in education, I'm not a math person, I'm not a STEM person, but just by being there, talking to your child, having conversation, giving them opportunities to explore, those are all great things you can do for your child. And of course, we would love for you to come to Chicago Children's Museum with your child, but that's just one place to play and to learn. You can do it all the time, whether you're on the bus, whether you're in a waiting room. You can be talking and supporting your child's learning anywhere you are.
All right, Amy, we're at this point where we have to do our take-home pack. And so I'm going to give an action item, and I'm going to give you the honor of giving a homework assignment to our family, okay? And so my action item is for them to connect with the Chicago Children's Museum. Go there, explore, post about it, share with your friends and your families, and really encourage your child to be a child and explore in that space. It was always fun times for me. So now I want to turn it over to you for the homework. What homework do you have for our Circle Time Convos family?
Okay, well, the homework that I will give right now, of course, it's about play because that's what we're all about at Chicago Children's Museum. But I would say because it's about to be fall, the weather is finally so lovely here in Chicago. Go outside with your child. We've talked a lot about inside STEM, and obviously outside there's so much to explore. Nature is so good for everybody. It's regulating. It helps you manage your emotions. It helps you feel better. Go outside, either take a walk, see what you explore, and again, just ask questions. Did you see that? Why do you think that? And what if we compare this one and that one? All of those things are great, great ways to build your child's STEAM brain.
I love it. And I agree. The weather is perfect right now, and this is opportunity to take the learning from inside to outside. Amy, thank you so much. I love our partnership, and I appreciate you so much. And I love the great work that you're doing at the museum.
Oh, thank you. We love working with you too. Thanks for having me.